888-888-9988. And you can not only get pepper spray to defend yourself here, you can get stun guns, tasers, animal repellents, home safety, personal alarms. And, we just ran that story last night. I don't know if we talked about it on the Alex Jones Show. College student shoots, kills home invader. These people went into the house. They separated 10 different people, women on one side, guys on the other. They overheard him saying, "Hey, do you have enough bullets?" And he's like, "Yeah, I have enough." Luckily, someone was armed, got his gun, shot and killed one of the perpetrators. The other people ran away. They're now being detained by police. But arming yourself is a way to protect yourself. And if you live in a state like New York, like I do, I'm out in Texas now, but I still have my place in New York, where it is almost an impossibility, let me repeat that, almost an impossibility to get a carry and conceal permit. Please think about getting a stun gun, a taser, pepper spray. Pepperspray.com is the website, 1-800-908-9988. All right. That last segue, talking about this Maitreya figure, is really where I wanted to go into this interview, because the Maitreya figure is, it looks like a Buddha. Some people are saying this is the new Christ, this is going to be the Antichrist. You touch upon it in Riddles in Stone at the end, saying, some people believe it's going to be coming very shortly, and then really hit it out of the ballpark in Eye of the Phoenix. Why don't you just give a brief synopsis of what this means and what the people who believe in this stuff think this Maitreya will bring to them?
Well, a lot of it begins, it goes back, they would tell you that it goes back thousands of years. It really comes into Western culture through Madame H.P. Blavatsky, who was the founder of the Theosophical Society. And we talk about her. A lot of people don't realize how many people, prominent people, were theosophists. Henry Wallace, who was the vice president under FDR, Mahatma Gandhi, Nehru, the first prime minister of India, Thomas Edison, and a whole host of others were members of the whole theosophical movement, where Madame Blavatsky is literally promoting, through her writings, she's promoting Lucifer, the archangel Lucifer, as the true God, and claiming that the God of the Bible, the God of Judeo-Christianity, is a false god and really a devil, in short. But she is the one who writes about this Maitreya figure. She calls him the fifth Buddha, the fifth incarnation of Gaetano Buddha, and that he would be the final Messiah that would come into the world and lead mankind into this glorious golden era. That's a short, brief explanation of what the Maitreya is. Mm-hmm. And of course, we talk about in Riddles in Stone in the second part, because the architecture of Washington D.C., that's what Riddles is about. Mm-hmm. The architecture of D.C. is all engineered to promote the occult doctrine that man is ultimately his own god, and that man ascends into godhood by degrees by his own power, and that's what the Maitreya represents. And the sort of the guy who calls himself the John the Baptist for the Maitreya is this guy Benjamin Creme, who came out 20-some-odd years ago and made a declaration in Los Angeles that the Maitreya was getting ready the Christ is here. He took out full-page ads in newspapers around the world saying the Christ is now here, and he calls the Christ the Maitreya, and he's going to come into the world and at any moment. Now, he's been saying this for more than 20 years, but what's peculiar is this guy, Benjamin Creme, he speaks at the United Nations. He speaks to these political and pseudo-political groups around the world, and he's been doing it for decades. In fact, we got a brief interview with him in Los Angeles back in 2006, and he had just come from speaking to an NGO group in the United Nations. And he right after Barack Obama was elected president, Share International, which is his organization, gave a press release saying that there were going to be spectacular things happening in the following year, and that the Maitreya was going to emerge at some point, or so they believe. But this was a central doctrine surrounding FDR's administration. Henry Wallace and then Nicholas Roerich, who was this Russian guru, this mystic character, who was also a member of Blavatsky's Theosophical Society.
And a total globalist, by the way. I mean, this guy was all about globalism, and didn't he help bring in some of these different organizations?
Oh, sure. He helped with the founding of the League of Nations, and he's given credit for the the League was dissolved because of World War II, and then he's credited with the formation of the United Nations afterwards. And in fact, there was this whole Rurik Peace Pact that was signed in the White House by Henry Wallace with FDR and so on. He was a very influential political figure, nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize and so on. He was lauded by political leaders around the world, especially in Tibet and the eastern countries and so on. There they celebrated him openly. And if you see his paintings, and we go to the Rurik Museum in New York and we show all of his paintings are all promoting, globalist ideas of unifying all the world religions, unifying all the countries of the world. And he was specifically working through the White House now when he went abroad toward creating or helping to create the Asian Union that we're seeing, come about now. But he was part of the whole groundworking of that movement during FDR's era. So he's promoting this idea of the Maitreya. When they built his building, called the Master Building in New York, they laid the cornerstone, and they put in there a piece of what he was calling the Stone of Destiny with an image of the Maitreya. They put an image of the Maitreya inside this cornerstone. And what's really bizarre about this, Jason, this wasn't just an event where they laid the cornerstone. They had dignitaries come from around the world, from Argentina, from Spain, from Romania, from all over the world. Albert Einstein sends a tribute. Henry Wallace is there. I mean, it's this major event in 1929, right before the stock market crash. But it was a very different environment in America, and it was a very mystical environment surrounding this guy Rurik. And they're all coming to see this Maitreya. So when you sent me these images of the Maitreya in the Bohemian Grove, I thought, oh my gosh, this really ties it all together. But this is the central theme for these secret occult groups that are manipulating our world political system. But they're doing it because they ultimately believe that all of their efforts are going to mystically, magically compel this person, whoever he will be, to come into the world. Now, if you're a Christian, as I am, then you believe this figure is the Antichrist prophesied in the Bible. The false Messiah that's going to become the one world ruler. But there are these groups, and they have links that go to the most powerful offices in the world who are really trying to bring this to pass. And they're involved, as you described earlier, in these occult rituals, these satanic, mock human sacrifices. And some people even are reporting that they have real human sacrifices there in the Bohemian Grove. Although I haven't seen, full confirmation of that.
Sure, but just the fact that we're just now discussing that there's a Maitreya figure there, when obviously these photographs have been out there, and mainstream media totally ignores the subject, and really the alternative media only knows what limited information is out there. It seems like this is a different section of the Grove. It seems like a different ritual goes on here, and it seems like, again, the elite are looking at this figure as, like you said, this coming Christ figure. What I don't understand is, where does it fit into Buddhism? Where does this Maitreya fit into Buddhism? Why are they the same? Why are they represented by the same figure?
Well, my understanding of it is, and it gets very complicated, even if you listen to them explain it. And then when you ask them questions, the ones who believe all of this, they themselves get confused. But it's the Maitreya is supposed to be the fifth incarnation of the original Buddha. That he has supposedly 5 incarnations. Gaetano Buddha was his name, and he claimed that he would have a 5th incarnation, and that would be his final incarnation. And so they have, throughout Eastern mysticism, they have believed that this would be that Jesus and Muhammad and Krishna and all of these different figures, they believe that they all were inspired by what they call the Christ principle or the Christ spirit or Christ consciousness. Okay, that they themselves were not Christs. They don't believe that Jesus is the Christ. They believe that he was just somebody who was inspired by this energy, but that the real Christ figure is the Buddha, is Maitreya Buddha, and that he will ultimately, when he comes into the world, he'll be a global Messiah that appeals to all the world religions and is able to unite all the world religions. That's what they believe.
It's just crazy to me that, you know, some people will act like, oh, religion has no stance. We need to, especially in this movement, they'll say, oh, religion needs to go if we ever want to